Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Wynn Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening. Welcome to the January 20th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Wynn Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I sound a little raspy. I'm still trying to get my voice back.
Oh, you lost your voice? Oh, from football?
No, not from football.
Just allergies.
No, the crew of Pyro's Mardi Gras Ball was this weekend.
I saw your pictures.
Yeah, we call it the DC Takeover. So it was a party Friday, a part of the ball on Saturday, and another ball on Sunday. So I don't have much.
Wow. Well, the pictures look like you all were having fun.
It was amazing. It was beautiful. And I was a sponsor again this year, so that was always nice.
I saw that. Now this is the last show of January. This year is moving right along. It's amazing how quickly time flies. And so our first guest we're going to be bringing her on shortly. I just want to have a few housekeeping notes. The National Black Book Festival registrations are open. We're already at 35% capacity. So we expect to sell out by the end of April. So those of you all who want to attend, please don't procrastinate about putting down your deposits. All you have to put down is $50 by March 31st. And I'm thinking by March 31st, we're going to be probably at 80% at that point. So don't procrastinate, put down your deposit. And the photos from last year, we're still posting. We're almost at the end. So we will be done with those probably by the end of this week. And we'll start doing our Black History Month author features. So we'll be doing that the entire month, featuring different authors for Black History Month. And we have 2 flyers we're promoting and 2 videos. We had a lot of participation this year. Finally, for the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards, that process is also open. If you're a children's author and want to submit your book, go to blackauthors.matterBookAwards.com. So our first guest was scheduled to be on the show a few weeks ago, and she had a health challenge, and so we were able to bring her back on tonight. And Yona, and I don't think I know exactly how to pronounce your last name. I'm going to take a stab at it. Deshommes?
No.
No. I'm totally wrong. Okay.
Yeah. It's Deshommes.
Deshommes. Oh, it's French.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, Yona, I'm just going to say Yona. Thank you for being a guest on the show, and we're glad we could bring you back on. And we missed you from last time, but we're excited about having you on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yep.
Yes, and I was telling Rhonda that you are her fellow Zeta.
Because
I see you. See now,
okay.
if you get my background up, you would see my little Zeta plate on the
that's
wall.
what was up here before, but I was like, okay, let me not be obnoxious.
Okay.
What was up here before with the Zeta background, I was like, okay, let me not do overkill.
Okay, well, I saw it on your bio, so I said, I wonder if Rhonda knows that. And also, you have been a staple in the book industry for many years. Yeah. Mostly known by people who either are trying to schedule authors for book signings, interviews, and events. Mm-hmm. You were the go-to person for a long time.
Yeah, there weren't that many of me in the industry.
Right.
There still isn't.
No, there's not.
But what I loved about being in that position is that it gave me the opportunity, to help the newbies, because I was very blessed. When I got into this industry, I was much older. I ain't gonna say how old. But I was older than your average assistant, and I started from the assistant, level. So I knew what it was like when you're trying to build something. So I made it a point, to help people along the way because people help me, because normally, no one would even think about hiring an assistant at the age that I was hired, but God had another plan, and I just had some really, really amazing mentors and amazing supervisors and bosses and things like that. And they gave me a shot and they saw how much I loved, what I was doing. So I've made it a point throughout my career to pay it forward. If I see you doing something, I see you hustling and you're trying to really push whenever I can, I will, shine the light, give that interview, do that event, because, somebody has to give us an opening, and if it's not me, if it's not, someone else, of color trying to help another sister or brother who will, and I continue to do that even now.
Well, I'm glad you said that because this industry can be such a solitary industry. You're already working on your book by yourself. Often you are trying to push your event or you're trying to push your book or whatever it is. You're doing that, and it gets to the point where where you feel like your friends are looking at you like, oh, here she go talking about that doggone book again, and so then you start to shy away from it. And I think that's why there are so many authors who aren't succeeding at marketing because that thought in the back of their head is that nobody wants to hear about that book anymore. So you just start to feel like, okay, I'm in this by myself. There's nobody supporting me.
Well, this is what I always tell authors. And one author that I've worked with for many years, Zane is the one who actually embodied this and taught me this a long time ago, was that, and I saw that example in working with her for so many years. You sell yourself, not the book.
Right.
Okay. Once you make that connection with your readers, you can write 3 words on a page, slap a cover on it, and your readers will follow you, they will purchase, and they will support. Okay. I remember being in Atlanta with Zane many years ago. And this is when Steve Harvey was doing, that big, oh God, what did you call it? It was that he had it in Atlanta every year. It was one of those expos.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't
Yes,
think of the name
I
of it.
can't think of the name right now. And, Zane was a featured, author. And I remember being in the booth with her and just interacting with her fans. And there were people that didn't even, they would go, we had a backlist, we had the new book, the old book, and people would come up and look at the tables like, oh my God, I didn't read that one, or I didn't hear about that one. It didn't even matter what it was about. It was just the fact that it was her. They trusted her. They trusted her writing, and people ended up picking up multiple books, and they didn't sit there and read it and decide, whether or not they liked it, whatever. They were banking on their relationship with the author. And I tell people that's what you need to do from day one, even as you're writing. Build your audience, make them feel like they're part of the process, make them feel like, they're important, that you care, about what they think, so that when it is time for you to actually push the book, they're invested in you.
Absolutely.
And that's why, why they're going to keep coming back. That's why they'll continue to support you in everything that you do, because nobody wants to be hit over the head with a product all day long. And that's the mistake that a lot of authors make. It's about my book, my book, my book, my book. And like you said, after a while, you're rolling your eyes like, oh my God, that book again. However, if you spend the time, engaging your audience, talking about your writing process, talking about your highs, your lows, the characters, the things that, all the things that authors experience just going through the writing process, you'd be surprised at how many will support you, will recommend the book, will shout you out, will give you a review, will pre-order when you ask to pre-order, all because you've built that relationship prior to.
Absolutely. There are authors out there, and let's even equate it to movies. If you know Denzel has a new movie coming out, you don't care what the movie's about.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
just gonna go watch the movie because Denzel is in it.
Absolutely.
I'm absolutely in love with Anthony Hamilton.
Too.
And I
Nicest guy. Very nice guy. I worked with him. He's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him in concert. He can sing the same songs over and over. He could be like Frankie Beverly and never make another album. I'm still gonna go to his concert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what we do when we really connect with the artist. And
Absolutely.
so authors can be the same way. There are authors who, if I just announce that I have a book,
Mm-hmm.
people are going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's because they've connected with their readership. So, I mean, what you're saying is a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Now I met you, well, this is my first time seeing you
Right,
ever,
right.
ever, even though I've known of you for, I want to say 20 years
At least.
at least. But
Um,
I was on the other side of it, the bookstore, book event side,
mm-hmm.
trying to get authors at our events.
Mm-hmm.
And now, did you have a career with anybody other than Simon and Schuster, or was that who you were with in the among the large publishers?
Oh no, I've worked with almost everyone. I started out at what was Warner Books, which is now Hachette,
Okay.
and I went to HarperCollins,
Oh, okay.
Amistad, for a bit, and then the bulk of my career was at Simon and Schuster at Atria Books.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So, from your vantage point about booking authors at stores and events,
Hmm.
what was your experience in terms of getting booked at Black events and Black bookstores? Was that a challenge from the industry standpoint, from the publisher standpoint?
You know,
Because I called you all, and I know you're in a different category, but I called people that do what you do, the gatekeepers.
right.
And sometimes the gatekeepers, they have in their minds, especially those who are in the majority culture, I'll just say it like that,
Hmm.
they have in their minds where they want to book the person,
Yeah.
and also what they think is the best place to book the person,
Hmm.
not realizing that Black authors need a solid Black audience,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that's going to be more sustaining.
Hmm.
Other groups, they might come and go, but your Black readers are more likely to stick with you.
Right. I have to say that it took a minute, but over time, um, I gained the trust of, my supervisor, my publisher,
Okay.
where it became less of an issue,
Okay.
for me to book. Like if I said, listen, I know Gwen, this is good, it's okay, you can, because people would actually call me, especially if it was a different imprint or even a publicist from another house. Sometimes they would call me and say, hey, we just got a request from so and so. Like let's say Gwen, for example, with her book festival that she's been doing forever, right?
Mhm.
And they would call me if they weren't familiar with you. And of course, they're always hesitant, especially when they don't have the experience. I often would get the phone call and say, hey, they're asking for XYZ celebrity, is it something that, that I should actually entertain? And I would be the one that would say, yes, this person's been doing X amount of years. I've had, many authors, I'm with you, Gwen, over the years, at the book festival. So I could vouch, for you. But that took a while. It took me, going into these meetings, talking about these events and making sure that I communicated the success, especially when social media really became a thing and we had like Instagram and all that. It was so much easier to show the the audience, the people that came out in real time as
Right.
opposed to waiting until like the event came and then all of a sudden you're showing my boss the photos. But with Instagram and Facebook and all those things, people can actually see it in real time. And
Mhm.
that's when they were like, oh my God. And then after a while, people began to be a little bit more receptive, to doing different events. But it definitely can be a challenge, especially if you're dealing with an imprint or you're dealing with publicists that just don't have a finger to the pulse of, the events that matter and that actually, can gain some traction, for some authors, like they don't know what those things are. They might work on that kind of title maybe once a year, if that. If you're not, in regular contact, with the book festivals that feature authors of color, if you don't have a relationship, with the BIPOC media in general, the book clubs, the blogs, the online reviewers, if you don't have that kind of relationship, you wonder why when these books, go on sale. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard authors say, or people say, you know what, that book went on sale and I didn't even know that it was out there. And you're a bibliophile. It's like you would think you would know, right? And I
Right.
can tell you, even now that I work outside, as an independent, often, too often, unfortunately, I will not hear, about a book. And it makes me sad because I'm like, dang, like who else has replaced me? Like in-house to be the person to say, hey, this is what's happening. Because the good thing about being in the industry so long, people would always let me know different things that they were doing. So I had like a little network, a little file folder of different events and people that I worked with. And, once I left, in-house and then COVID hit, I don't know what's happened and who's taken up the mantle. But it has gotten a little bit better though, because of social media, and because there's actually proof, there's a footprint for a lot
Right.
of these events now, so it has gotten a little bit easier.
I would venture to say, in certain ways, social media has made things better, but I think in other ways, it's
Yeah.
kind of crippled some people.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because we tend to think just because we put it on our Facebook page that we've done our part,
Yep.
or because we have social media and we have a few followers that we don't need to pay for certain marketing because I have social media. I can just put it on Instagram or I can just put it on TikTok and everybody's going to know. And they don't realize that there's still work that has to be done in marketing. You can't just throw it on a page and think you've done your part, or you put it on your page one time and you say, well, I already put it up, I already posted it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And you people forget that maybe less than 5% of
Yeah.
your total audience
Yeah.
sees the post. You
Yeah,
Absolutely.
have
only
to
five
more than
people
one.
saw it, and even though you might have 5,000 followers, somebody
Mhm.
because that is, we have close to 100,000. That's what I would say. We have 99,500 followers. If we don't boost something, it gets less than 100
Right.
Wow.
followers, likes, unless it really has to be something, and we don't post things that are bizarre or
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
like I posted yesterday on my personal Facebook that if I see one more BBL, I am going to scream. I On my news feed, it's like all of a sudden it's like every third video is
Mhm.
somebody with their rear end hanging out and they're juggling it, and it's very wide.
Yeah.
I don't know when it became a thing, but
It's a
we
science.
don't post stuff like that. We
It's a
post
science.
professional stuff.
Yeah, it's a science, and it's something that, can be taught. Um, and I think the mistake that people make is that they don't realize that, all these social media things, there is an algorithm.
Yes,
It's a
yeah.
lot of times it's based on the
But
videos that you watch.
you clicked
So
one. All you have to click is
all
once.
you do once, and that's
I
it. And then
clicked
all of a sudden you're,
Usher. Usher was giving this woman a cherry, and she had a BBL. And after that, it was like an explosion on my newsfeed.
yeah, that's what
And it makes fun of me because I'm a big Dr. Popper.
oh
Okay,
yeah,
I've
that
never
was a
seen. My
special
sister
love,
loves that
I
show,
love
but I've never
Dr.
seen
Pimple Popper. So I watch her on TV, but if she pops up on my feed, I'll watch it. And because I've watched her, then I get all kinds of stuff, people
it.
cleaning
Similar, yeah.
toenails. And then my family makes fun of me. They're like, why do you watch that nasty stuff? I said, well, it popped up on my feed. Well,
Yeah,
that's because you watched it. It didn't pop up on my feed.
yeah,
all you
that's
have to
what
do is
happens.
click something once, and then even if you hit show less of it, it's still, I've done that. I don't know what else to do, but it is a good way to get the word out if you have an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a book audience. We have readers, we have book clubs, we have book professionals, we have authors, people who are interested in books. So when we post something and boost it, it really gets a lot of traction. It can be a still graphic,
Mm,
but it has to be something. We have a professional person does all of our graphics. You have to have a certain standard. That's just how I feel about it.
yeah.
Whenever we're doing something, we want it to be at a certain level. Now, in the time we have left, I want to hear about your transition from working in corporate and
Mm-hmm.
then becoming independent, and how that's been for you, and what do you do day to day?
Oh, it's been amazing. I worked at Simon Schuster Atria as an associate director of publicity when I left, and for 13 years. And then I walked into work one day and was told that my position was eliminated.
What?
And I remember the devastation and feeling the gut punch because that was home for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for 13 years. That's a long time, to
Mm-hmm.
be in the same place. And I had coworkers that felt like family. But I am a firm believer in that, sometimes God, gives you a little nudge because there's something else that he wants you to do.
Right.
And it was the best thing, honestly, that could have possibly happened to me because I was able to, find, kind of found my way. And, I founded a River Child Media, and it just is, I cannot believe somebody's at I can't come to the door right now. Um, it's like the one time when I'm actually in an interview was at my yeah, so it's been an amazing, amazing ride because now I get to do and work with authors and books that I'm really excited about, you know. And I feel like I'm really making a difference because one of the things about working in-house is that sometimes you don't have a choice about how you do things, how you can you run a campaign, what you can do within a campaign because you have so many things that they ask you to do. You're working on so many different books, so many different authors, so you can only do but so much
Yeah.
for each campaign. But when you're working independently, you do have that freedom to, really think outside the box, and do things, that are different and that are exciting. And you could take risks and not necessarily have to worry about, your boss getting upset or saying, like, why did you do this? Or why did you do that? And and I feel like I am in a position now where I'm able to teach authors how to be better authors, you know, what to do while you're with me and what to do when you're no longer with me. How to really help yourself, like in between projects, in between books, take a little bit of what you've learned while you're with me and then, take it and pass it on, add onto it. So since 2020 is when I opened up River Child Media, and it was one of those weird things where we were in the middle of COVID, and I, was just trying to figure out what it is I was going to do after leaving Simon and Schuster, and then I got a phone call from my wonderful, beautiful friend Victoria Sanders, who is an amazing literary agent, and she was like, "Hey, are you freelancing?" And I'm like, no, not really. And then one thing led to another, and she opened some doors for me. And then I haven't, I haven't turned back since. It's really been a great ride. I have a wonderful partner now, Kev Martinez. He came into work with me a few years ago. And, with him, we've really elevated the business. We've had the opportunity to go to Cannes last year, with a client. We're doing some things in Europe. We have some other surprises news, that I can't announce yet until it's official, but there will be an announcement about, more things, that we're doing as a company and as we expand. So it's been an amazing, amazing ride. And, those that were rocking with me all those years while I was working, in corporate are rocking with me now. and we're collaborating and doing amazing things together. So I'm excited about the future.
Okay.
All right. And so I was just going to ask if you're still working with authors, but it sounds like you are.
I am. I am. I definitely am. And it's like it's really it's so exciting now because like I could look at each project and start to think of all the different things, that we can do and I'm not handcuffed. I can kind
I
of
might
like
need to
have
call
that.
you. I might need to call you, Yona. I need some help with some things.
Oh, call, please. Absolutely. I'm definitely, taking on new clients. So absolutely give me a call. I tell people, to book a discovery call with me. I do publishing consultations. I do all types of things. You can go on my website, make an appointment. But my main thing is I'm here for us because you see what's happening. You see what's
Yes.
happening.
I,
And
I,
we,
I said it
and
last night. This is more important now than it's ever been before because our history is being taken out of the schools. It's being taken out of the military curriculum. If we are not embracing the griot tradition and
yeah,
teaching our kids their history, our young people their history, it's going
yes.
to get lost.
Exactly. And like, like my dear friend Dr. Yaba Blay always says, we all we got.
Okay.
So I've always felt that way. So the way I move is no different. Now I'm just saying, guys, if you ever, had a thought of doing something different, it's like this is the time, to really to start collaborating with each other because they're taking away so many things from us. So this is the time that we have to get close together. So I'm always down for a collaboration, working together. I say let's build our own table. That way we don't have to worry about being invited to someone else's. Real talk.
And
Well,
amen.
that's one of the reasons why we created this show.
Yeah.
And we've been around 4.5 years and interviewed over 700 guests. And guess what? I don't know if Rhonda realized this because I don't know if you've seen the flyer yet, but next week we will be celebrating our 200th show.
Congratulations. That
Yeah,
is
that's a
amazing.
lot of
So
shows.
I see that I'm barely on Facebook in the middle of the day
I
anymore.
haven't posted it yet because I
Oh,
try not to post until after like tonight because I don't want one week to step on another one. I like
right.
each week to have its own day in the sun, so to speak. But yeah, next week is our 200th show. So we
Congratulations.
um, we give a platform to up and comers, to the people who well established guests. Everybody comes on the show, celebrities. We know everybody who is in the space, and not just authors, although primarily authors, but professionals like you. Now, what do you do now? Do you do mostly marketing? Do you do scheduling?
I
Are you doing editing? Are you on that
well,
side?
I
Uh,
still do primarily the PR and marketing.
okay,
Authors. I do some agenting. It's very limited, but I do some agenting.
okay,
So, and then I'm also again I'm moving, my partner and I are moving into the TV and film space, as well and establishing some connections there. So like I said, there'll be some announcements um
okay,
coming up. Yeah, so it's like, we're building the company in that when we take on a client, our goal is to not just to do the 3-month thing and then you disappear, to work with an author where we're helping to build you up and then continue to work with you even after, the book is published. So more long-term
okay,
opportunities and looking for authors, who have that special something that we can make and do something bigger, with it, whether it be a film or speaking or, something bigger. Yeah, but we, determine it all depends on the author and the book. But yeah, we're doing more than just, the okay, we work with you for 3 months and then we cut you loose kind of thing. We're looking, we have gotten authors that we've worked longer term with, and that's what that's the direction that we're moving in, longer relationships with authors.
okay.
Wonderful.
So we're at the end of our time, but if people want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Well, they can make an appointment if they want to chat with me, at it's Riverchild Media LLC.com. And they can email me at Yona at riverchildmediallc.com, and it's at Riverchild Media on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, well, I
Oh,
did put your website in the chat,
Thank
so
you.
I'm sure people will be clicking that link and reaching out to you.
Awesome.
I know
Thank
I
you.
will. I told you I need some help with some things.
Well, I got you, Sora.
yeah, and Yona, we've already been talking about this year's festival
Yes.
and we'll keep me posted. I'll remind you.
Oh, I'm
I'm
absolutely.
really good at reminding people.
Oh no, that festival is already on our radar. I'm just waiting for the final confirmation for dates. In regards to that particular offer, but yeah, it's on the list. So as long as it falls in line with the publication, you're good.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, good meeting you finally face to face.
Yes, after all these years. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having me.
Okay, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Have a great night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night. Okay, so we're going to be bringing on our next guest, and his name is Mychal Wynn, and his first name is spelled differently. I need to ask him, is that a family's name, spelling of his name, or just, his parents wanted to do something fancy, or what? So anyway, Mychal has a book called HBCU Scholarships and More, and this is an area, as you all who watch this show know, that is really near and dear to my heart, because I write about something similar. I'm sure he has a different angle because my book is not about HBCUs in general. It's more about just getting money. But Mychal, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you'll unmute your mic so we can hear you, that would be great.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're
Okay.
excited to have you. Thank you for being here tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so I see your book behind you, but do you have one that you can put like closer to the camera so people can really get a good look at the cover of your book?
Absolutely. Let me grab that one.
Okay, all right. Uh,
See.
Oh, that's a
over,
thick
put it
book.
over to the yeah. It's a nice cover. Now, what is that? What is that in the letters? Those are pictures of different people who graduated from HBCUs.
Yes, the people, students currently attending HBCUs.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I like the cover. And what did you go to an HBCU yourself?
No, actually, I attended Northeastern University. My youngest son, he's a Gates Millennium Scholar. He attended Morehouse.
Oh, okay. All right.
My oldest son, he attended Amherst College. So I have this broad range of experiences because I've been working with students for over 30 years now. And in working with them, for some students, it has been more advantageous in the past for them to go to attend PWIs because they receive full scholarships. Um, we have seen over the past several years a huge increase in scholarships at HBCUs. And now, particularly with the Trump administration, HBCUs are becoming increasingly safe, emotionally supportive, and safe spaces for students of color.
Mhm.
Yes.
My daughter went to
You can find it,
my
though.
daughter went. Mhm. Yeah, my daughter went to Central, North Carolina Central,
And
and
my daughter went to Clark Atlanta University.
my siblings all went to HBCUs. I'm the only one who didn't go to one. They went to my brothers both went to Hampton, and my sister went to Bennett College in Greensboro, and my brother that went to Hampton that continued his education, he went to Howard for his master's. So
Just all over the place, huh, Gwen?
a long history of HBCUs in my family. I
Yes.
just did, and you're right. The PWIs when I went, Georgetown gave me a full scholarship, and that money talks.
Well, no,
Well,
it does talk, but here's a couple of things. I went to Loyola University, but although it wasn't an HBCU, the black community in that school was very close, and that there were some students at HBCUs who felt like we were actually closer and we had more of a community, probably because there were fewer of us and we kind of watched out for each other. So sometimes it's about the experience.
I think that there are a number of factors that students have to weigh in choosing of school. Um, what I find in our work as it relates and what I've written in the book as it relates to HBCUs is that there are unique opportunities at HBCUs that are just not well publicized. Very few public school libraries have books about HBCUs. Very few of them have counselors who are experienced in the wide array of programs that are offered at HBCUs. And when we begin to talk about student loan debt, the numbers are really staggering. 86% of Black students who attend college are taking out student loans. So if students are planning to go to graduate school or medical school or beyond, that debt is really staggering in terms of the amount that they're assuming. Uniquely to HBCUs is that there are scholarship opportunities that are only available to students attending HBCUs. So what I try to do in this book is really cultivate this conversation of engaging and thinking about these things as students enter the ninth grade in high school. And so the students that we work with who are on full scholarship at such schools like North Carolina Central, the Cheatham White Scholarship, North Carolina A&T, the Dowdy Scholarship. They have a new full scholarship program at Spelman. They've had for years full scholarship opportunities at Xavier University of Louisiana and at Tuskegee. And those programs are transparent in terms of what students need to do. This is really an important point. If when we look at public education, uh, Black students are performing the lowest across all academic measurements. However, we meet too many students who are in the 12th grade who say, I didn't know that I should have been doing a certain set of things starting in the ninth grade to qualify for these types of scholarships. So what I'm communicating in the book is that we need to start these conversations much earlier so that our young people have more ownership of their academic achievement as they're going through high school, so they have more opportunities when they graduate from high school.
Right. And not, yeah, ninth grade does count. It's 9, 10, 11th, and 12th that counts towards your ranking in high school and also the cumulative GPA. And the 86% that you said is an accurate number. My book is about going to college debt free because I didn't want my daughter to have debt. And so I started looking for scholarships for her in 10th grade. She was a high achiever academically, so that wasn't going to be an issue. She always was. But finding the money, and she went out of state because we live in Texas. So then the fees add up. But I did not want that for her. Now she didn't get that much money from the school, and so we were applying for scholarships right and left. And so that's um, part of what I talk about is just there's money out there. I found one of the best, the very best sources for Black students is the United Negro College Fund. They have a lot of scholarships that are only for HBCU students and some that aren't, some that are only for Black students, but they give large dollar amounts, um, at least 2,500 normally, sometimes 5,000, and sometimes 10,000. So that was one of the best sources that we had. But we applied everywhere. We applied for every scholarship we could find that she qualified for, and so she graduated with zero debt.
Okay, so here are some of the parallels, but also some of the areas in which we have to expand the conversation. Is that it sounds like you were the type of parent to your daughter, as my wife and I have been the type of parents to our sons. But unfortunately, for Black students, Too many of them, or not too many, a large number of them are coming out of first generation households, so their parents don't have the wherewithal to assist them in searching for scholarships. Students are unaware of developing their body of work throughout high school in terms of GPA and class rank to qualify for scholarships. Now, that's only the tip of the iceberg. The other thing that I talk about in the book that many Black students are totally unaware of is how to write a scholarship winning essay, how to package a scholarship application, how to build your body of work in terms of cross community service and leadership as you're going throughout high school. There are households where those things are a common conversation, where parents are in fraternities or sororities, or they graduated from college and their children are involved in organizations like Jack and Jill and Links and mentoring programs, Delta Gyms, and so forth. But for the majority of our children, particularly if they're in urban schools, they are conditioned to believing that their only scholarship pathway into post-secondary education is through athletics,
Sport.
without even knowing
Mm.
that athletics is one of the least available scholarship pathways. That in the NCAA, they publish the statistics, and there are very few athletes who are attending college on full scholarships. So with that type of cultural connection or misinformation, there are parents that put all of their eggs
Eggs.
into
Yeah.
the athletic basket.
Yes.
And they don't talk about GPA or class rank or test scores or those types of things that lead to many, many other scholarship opportunities. And even in turn, as it becomes something as simple as when you apply. So many of the students that we guide into HBCUs have very specific early action deadlines, where if you don't apply to college by that deadline, you're not even considered for the institutional scholarships that they're offering. And so our children go through high school, well-intentioned, planning to go to college, and none of this information is available to them. And even with my book, it's not in most high school libraries. I mean, it is difficult to even get the information into the hands of our children so that they're able to make these informed decisions.
Yeah, I agree with you. My book has been out for what year are we in? 10 years, but every year I do a update, I do a revised edition every January. So um I'm gonna just go back a little bit. When my daughter was in high school, the guidance counselor never, I mean, and my daughter has two informed parents, two college degree parents. Okay. The guidance counselor gave no information, no information. Everything that we got was because of effort, on mostly my part, me and my daughter. But I hustled. I was at the school all the time getting transcripts first. You have to go get the transcripts or get them sent and all that. Um, so what I found was the parents really need to have this information if they're engaged. There's not, some parents just aren't engaged, and that's really challenging for any student if they don't at least have one parent that's engaged. But my book is sold to parents. um I've been putting it out for 10 years. There are people who like word of mouth. Some, they tell their friends, and then it sells online and on Amazon. I have done some speaking like at youth groups, churches, and that kind of thing. And then I sell my book there. But as far as getting it in institutions, I haven't. I hope you have more luck with that than I did. But
Well, our work is different. This book is part of a 7 book series that I published and released just before Christmas. So there are 4 books on HBCUs. Uh,
okay.
Why attend an HBCU, HBCU STEM pathways, HBCU healthcare pathways, and then this book, HBCU scholarships. And then I did a 3 book set on how to choose a career or college pathway. Now, in our work, most of our work is hands-on directly with students. So with the school districts that we've had contracts with, we work hands-on with students. And what we found in practice in our work is that in many cases, we never even meet a parent until it's time to complete the FAFSA. And we meet the parents on that one day when they complete the FAFSA. And generally, we don't see the parent anymore after that. So all of our work is largely hands-on with students. So
Okay.
when we look at students who are attending HBCU on full scholarships, it's because we were able, and again, this is a reason that I wrote this particular book, in that I can't work with everybody. So we've only worked with 3 or 4 school districts, one in Texas, Judson ISD in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
And then we did some work years ago with Austin ISD. But my point is, because we cannot work with students in all the places where they need the information, we did 2 things. We created an online curriculum, but with the books, we've taken all the things that we would say to a student if we were working hands-on with them to put in the book so that the student who maybe has parents who either don't know or are uninvolved, the student who is self-motivated, we can give them all the information. But we don't just talk in the book. I don't just talk about scholarships. I talk about how to build a resume, how to transition that to a CV once you get into college, how to break apart essay writing prompts, how the importance of having people look at your application. Many students, their mindset is they just want to apply for lots and lots of scholarships. They don't think in terms of, I need to create a quality application for the scholarships I'm applying for, those that applications that are free of misspellings and improper word usage. And now they're going to chat GPT. I'm just going to have AI write an essay for me, not understanding that scholarship providers are well aware of what is an AI generated essay versus something that a student naturally wrote themselves. So with all of that, what I'd outline is just step by step what a student can do if they want to pursue this pathway. And if a counselor or teacher is working with them, then that's just a bonus. And the other point that I'll make is that what I am hoping for this book in terms of distribution is that there are a lot of organizations that work with Black students. There are fraternities and sororities and Boys and Girls Club, and they are well intentioned and they do good work. But when we look at student loan debt, no one is talking about student loan debt in this work. Their focus is, I want to get you into college. Now, when we look at this black-white wealth gap, if we don't start reducing student loans, we can't close that wealth gap because students go to college and they get a degree, but they're paying back their student loans their entire lifetime, working life, and they can't build wealth to close. And I just looked at the most recent statistic, and the wealth gap is staggering. We, Black community, is at the very bottom at $44,890. Asians are at the top at $536,000. And then white households are 285,000. Hispanics are 62,000. If our children are going to continue to attend college and be burdened with student loan debt their entire lifetime, those numbers aren't going to change very much.
Yeah, they
All
really.
of that is why I wrote.
Yeah, I understand because, like I say, my book is about going to college debt free. When my daughter was in high school, well, even before high school, middle school, everyone I knew that was in their 40s was still paying student loans.
Yes.
That's what prompted me to I just didn't want her to graduate with debt because, like you say, it's like a mortgage without a house
Yes.
because of the interest. The compound interest is the killer. And it's unfortunate that a lot of students really think of the loan as their first option. They don't really, and they wait too long. Like you said, you can't wait till your senior year to start pursuing this. You have to start really in 10th grade. And you said ninth grade, which either one is great because, for one, there are actually scholarships available. um, for children as young as 13.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's money out there. So you could get a head start. I have a good friend of mine whose daughter went all the way through school, graduate school too, using my book and has no debt at all. She got a master's degree, but she started her daughter in 10th grade with a scholarship for $5,000 that a 10th grader could get. And so that was how they got started. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that if there, let's say you're in the 11th grade, there's a scholarship where the deadline is September of your 12th grade year. If you wait till September, you're too late. If you wait till September of your senior year in high school, it's too late for you to have all the information you need, because a lot of it you have to get documents, you have to have documentation. There's things you need to apply for these scholarships. And so you need to know what you need for the things you want to apply for.
And that's
And
the point. You have to start this conversation early.
early,
And
yes.
whether a student starts in ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, or the years ago, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I wrote a set of books, a series of books from middle school through high school, middle school plan for students with college-bound dreams and a high school plan. And so the model that we developed, that we began working with school districts, was developing a 7-year plan. And that 7-year plan was designed to position you for a full scholarship from the institution. The institutions, no scholarships can beat an institutional scholarship if you can get that scholarship.
Mhm.
So that's how both of our boys attended college. That when our son was in started 6th grade, we were already thinking about the Gates Scholarship, and for our other son, we were already thinking about a highly selective liberal arts college with a full need-based financial aid policy. But what we say to students is, as you enter middle school, and this is this is an important point for many other states. I know Texas has some unique things going on in the high school diploma endorsements and the different things that happen there. But in many other states, particularly those that have gone to a college career model, you have to make choices as you enter 6th grade that you've stuck with for 7 years. If you choose to go the STEM pathway, if you choose to go agriculture or whatever it is that you choose. And so what we say to students is that, look, for example, there's an 1890 scholarship for HBCUs, full scholarship for students who are majoring in agriculture, where if you're in a school district in 6th grade, you're choosing the agricultural track, then why don't you plan and set goals for the grades you want to earn, the test scores you want to earn, and then when you get to 12th grade, as you said, you have all that documentation, you have the track record, you're ready to go, and you know where you're going. But that's planning, and that's an important conversation that we have to have in households. How do our children plan their way into these scholarship opportunities? So all of that is what I try to cover in this conversation with students and parents. And again, I have to keep going back to organizations. Organizations in our community have a huge impact on young people. So there are thousands of young people who are in Delta Gyms. There are thousands of young people who are participating in Jack and Jill. There are thousands of young people who are participating in the AKA Academy. Well, at some point, someone should be having these scholarship conversations. Now, many of these organizations, they have financial literacy workshops, but you can't have I don't understand how do you have a financial literacy workshop and scholarships are not part of that conversation. If you're telling people who are under-resourced to save money for college, that's not resonating as much as you can say, if your child does this, they can earn a full scholarship to college. So we believe that the conversation just has to be expanded.
I um I would venture to suggest, and I hold an essay contest every year for 8th and 9th graders. And I had a teacher tell me once that students were not participating, one, because they didn't think that the cash prize was high enough. And then some said that they just didn't want to have to write another essay. They already had a lot of work to do. So I think that I say that to say, I think sometimes we discount things because we don't think that the price is high enough. But there were kids who were making millions of dollars in scholarships because they applied for everything, whether it was $200 up to $10,000. And two young ladies who graduated with my daughter graduated with over $1 million worth of scholarships because they applied to everything.
Sure.
So that's one part of it. And the other part of it is we can't just think of it as just, and that was the mistake I made when I was in high school. I'm like, I'm tired of writing essays. I don't want to write another essay. And but I missed out on opportunities because I didn't take the time to write that other essay. And I was a good writer. I just was going through a lot of stuff and I said I didn't want to do it again. So I think that needs to be part of the conversation as well. It's not just financial literacy or looking for the scholarships, but sometimes going that extra mile because life doesn't get easier the older that we get.
Absolutely. And you were blessed to be a good writer because I'll tell you, many of the students that I'm working with now in different districts in different parts of the country, they have not had access to good writing instruction. And many of those students will not even apply to colleges that require an essay. So if a college doesn't require an essay, they're unlikely to be giving away a lot of scholarship money. They're making it easy to get in. So they don't have to offer scholarship money. And if a student doesn't have the skill set to write a college essay,
Right.
students are going to struggle with any type of scholarship essay. And so I talk about that in the book as well, just trying to help students to understand how you break apart an essay prompt
So
and
this is
how
a
you
whole
write.
resource center in this book. This isn't just here's a list of scholarships or this is
Oh,
what you need
no,
to do. This is your plan, and this is how you can set your goals to reach that plan.
absolutely, absolutely. And for students, and writing essays as you go through high school is an important skill to develop in preparation for college. If you believe that you don't want to write any essays to get into college, once you get in, you're still going to
You're
have
gonna
to
be
write
doing a lot
essays.
of writing once you get in there. That's
So
a
Well,
this,
big
this
thing.
is another reason why I created my course. That if there's any organization, and my sorority Zeta Phi Beta usually invites me to teach this course to their kids, but I actually teach a course on writing winning essays. What you should look for, how, just as you said, how you break down the prompt and the little things that can mean the difference between winning or losing the scholarship. You might have some great ideas, but somebody else has great ideas and they wrote them a little bit better. So what are
absolutely.
those small things that can put you over the top?
So then if we look at the collective brain power of us in this
Yeah.
conversation, we're talking about all the different components that our young people need, not only to become proficient writers and also when we talk about scholarships, proficient researchers and then we talk about grit, having the grit to actually sit down and work through it without looking at, oh, this is only 200. You know, it's something when a young person says this is only $250, but they're working somewhere for $15 an hour.
Right.
How many hours does it take you to get to $250? Whereas you may be able to get there by a 30-minute essay and just an hour to put together a quality application. It's amazing how their minds are. And
Right.
then with the social media influences, that's one of the things that we've seen. They do very, very little reading. They want to get all
Mhm.
of their information through
From a
podcasts
video.
and
Okay.
TikToks and YouTube
From a
Right.
video.
videos.
Right. Well, I wish we
Yeah.
could talk longer, but unfortunately, we've reached the top of the hour. I
Mm.
did put your website in the chat, www.accessandequity.org slash
Yes,
our foundation slash Michael Wynn.
yeah.
So people can go to that link to purchase your book.
Yes, absolutely. And they can see all the titles that I've written, but I really want them to take a good look at this HBCU
HBCU stuff.
series of books and tremendous opportunities for our young people.
Yeah, and I want to say one last thing. If the group of us, and when I say us, I mean Black people, that is the most upwardly mobile because of education, is strangled with college loan debt, then what does it say about the future of our community? Because if your most upwardly mobile group is just strangled by debt, then the advancement is strangled as well. So we need to hope that we can help those behind us and other generations to not make that mistake. And that's why I continue to preach the same sermon you're preaching. Just I'm using a different chapter, a different hymn in the hymn book, but it's all the end result is all the same. Get the money's out there. You need to do the things necessary to get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sister.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for what you're doing to help empower our students. Guys, go out and get this book. Let's empower our kids to not just get to college, but to stay in college and to achieve.
Absolutely. Thank you. I
Oh,
enjoyed talking to you.
okay, same here.
Thank
Have a great
you.
night.
Okay.
Okay, so we are um, moving right along and on schedule. And our next guest is, as you all know, who watch the show, know that Black Odyssey Media is, I'll say, they're a partner of the show, so to speak. They also partner with us at the book festival. And Tice puts on an amazing seminar on book to film every year. Well, Tarris Marie, this is her third time on the show because this is her third book, if I'm not mistaken,
We love
published
Tarris.
under the Black Odyssey Media umbrella. So, Tarris, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV. And make sure you unmute so we can hear you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome back to
Thank
the
you for
show.
being here.
Now you have this is your new book that's behind you. That's
Yes.
your okay, your avatar, whatever they call that, your
Yes.
backdrop.
Yes.
This is your new book,
Yes.
Empress.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is my second novel, Empress Creed. Um, and I'm really happy to launch this. It actually just released last week. So I'm super
Right.
excited about this one.
Right. We wanted to have you in your close to your release date. Now I thought this was your third book.
No, ma'am. This is my
This is your
second one.
second book?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, tell
Well,
us about it.
yeah, tell us
Okay.
about it.
Okay. All righty. Well, Empress Creed is about well, it starts in the 1930s, and that's where it primarily takes place, actually. And it follows the life of the character Dulce Ella Monroe. And she is an aspiring seamstress, but mainly she is a queen pin, okay? And so she actually takes on in the south side of Chicago and also in Gary, Indiana, which is my hometown. She takes on the mayor as well as the Irish mob.
Oh,
Now,
that's
is
a
this
bad
book
girl.
connected to your other book? What was your other book? What was your first book?
It was called Black Pearl.
Black Pearl. Okay. So are they connected or is this a standalone?
So this, the connection between the two is both of the main characters. This is Empress Creed, and in Black Pearl was Pearl. They are their love interests are Savages. That's their last name. So this would be the great great grand of Black, who's in Black Pearl, his family, like uncles and grandfather and all that. So that's
When
the
you said
connection.
when you said savages, I was like, oh my God, they're beating them up or whatever.
Oh
But
no no
that's
no
their
no.
last name. I
Yes, that's
got
their
it when
last
you
name.
said there was a last name.
No, no, it's the last
Okay.
name. No, it's the Savages. They come from, they started actually, and I kind of tell the backstory because I talk about it in Black Pearl through the character Black, of how his grandfather started in Harlem in the numbers game. And so that's what I play with in this one. So you get to hear and learn about the numbers. You get to feel the artistic explosion that took place because they go to the Cotton Club in Harlem. So it's a very rich novel. I did a lot of research, and I like to play in different eras. So my grandparents raised me, so I always had a love for the 1930s. And they're actually from the Midwest. And I wanted to take us there because, one, that's where I'm from, and also that's where my grandparents are from.
I was just going to ask you if you did a lot of research for this. What was it like to do this type of research? Because I'll tell you, when you're researching a passion project, everything is important. You start
Absolutely.
reading this, oh, I have to put this in the book. Oh, I have to mention this. How do you edit yourself to where you're not trying to include everything? And then how did you decide what you wanted to include, what would drive the story, and what was just maybe a nice to have or something you had decided to wait until next time for?
Okay. So when I decided to write this story, I just wanted to write it, right? So I just wanted to not do any research. I wanted to see where these characters were going to go, see where they're going to take me. And so I'll make sure that I stay true to the adventure and the narration of the character first. And then I layered on with some of the research afterwards. So I think that I always keep in mind that it's a fiction story, although it does take place in a real era, but I want to make sure that I stay true to the character. And
Yes.
so I didn't want, because she is a queen pin, and we're playing in Harlem and we're on these places, I didn't want to lose my readers, and I didn't want the character to get lost either, right? So I just wanted to keep her on the journey that she was on first. And then, like I said, I layered on after the fact all the important details. I would say most importantly would be the language. I wanted to make sure I kept, us in that time period, and they talk about the bee's knees and, whatever. I really
Yes.
wanted to make sure that when she talks about her cigarette, her ciggy, all those types of little small things like that. But I wanted to make sure that the language was in line, as well as, I didn't want to talk about how, for example, they went to a bar and they bought a drink and it's prohibition, right? So I just wanted to
Right.
make sure that I stayed true, because I didn't want to lose. Readers are so smart, and I don't want to lose, and I didn't want to lose my readers in some small detail that I forgot, or
Oh,
something I may
makes a
have
lot of
messed up
sense.
on. So that is one of the main reasons why too. I wanted to make sure I keep you in my story. I wanted to make sure that you stay from beginning to the end with the characters.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because sometimes we may not do it on purpose, but we forget, hey, they didn't say pump the brakes back in the 1930s. We can't say that.
Right, right, right.
Well, if
So
they did, they were talking about brakes on a car.
right. So yes, I definitely, I and then it helped me too that the music was so important during that time period. And I grew up listening to the Sarah Vaughan's, Ella Fitzgerald. My grandmother loved Johnny Mathis, the Ink Spots. That's what my grandfather used to
Yeah.
listen to. And he loved all the musicals and the movies of that time period. So I kind of was thrusted into that time period anyway, just because of how I was raised. And they love, both my grandparents love the arts. So, watching Stormy Weather and, reading about Lena Horne and just all of those things. My grandfather bought me a book called Brown Sugar when I was a little girl, because he saw how much I loved the arts, and he wanted me to know where I had come from, because he could
Yeah.
tell that it was something that was in me, so I can know where to go. Right. So I started reading about all these different actresses and writers, and just diving into Dorothy Dandridge and Catherine Dunham, and just all these beautiful women that were in the story. In the book, I got to read about their lives, and it helped shape me as an artist today.
That's awesome. So is this a pretty thick book?
I would say it's a normal size.
Like
What's the normal size?
250 pages
300?
in there.
Let me see. Yeah, roughly around there. Look, roughly around there.
I mean, some
Yeah, a
people
little over
think 100
300.
pages
Mhm.
is the normal size.
Yeah, 250 to 300 in there. But
Yeah.
Yep.
now they're 300s. It depends on the book. I'm reading a book now that's it's over 300 because I'm right at 300 and I still have like a third to go. So um you reminded me of a video I saw recently, that the song "A House Is Not a Home" that Luther, made famous. But, and I think I may have, how the algorithms make things come up. So after I was watching something where Luther was singing, it was around the time recently when Luther's documentary came out. But the next thing on YouTube was a video of Ella Fitzgerald singing that same song. And she was singing it like in a nightclub.
Okay.
And she just put a whole different spin on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was my
It
grandmother's
was
favorite.
amazing.
Yes. Ella Fitzgerald could jam. So
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, she sang, she didn't like scream. She didn't do this any screaming or anything like that. She had a somewhat deep voice, but she did like the higher notes falsetto. It was just really, really heartfelt and beautiful. So
Absolutely. So I grew up listening to that. So just imagine that was every morning. My grandma would be doing the dishes or whatever, and I would be listening to Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, and Johnny Mathis through our record player.
Nat King Cole, did she play Nat King Cole?
Just a little bit.
That was a little bit later though. That was
Yeah,
later
just a
than
little
that.
bit.
But his videos come up too. They all had very smooth voices. Just
Absolutely.
really, really impeccable tone,
Absolutely.
So let's see your cut. Do you have your book with you? Because your body is blocking the cover
Oh,
behind.
look.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Can you see
There
it?
you go.
Okay.
I love the cover.
With the
I love
black
the color
car, the
pops.
pop.
Yes, that's my girl. That's my
That's
girl.
really
Just say Ella
nice.
Monroe. Absolutely.
Okay,
So
I like that cover. So
thank
you
you.
launched your book. Your release date was last Tuesday.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so how's the launch been how's your last week been?
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm just getting started, and this is always my favorite time to be able to talk about the book and, share some of my insights. And this is just an exciting moment for me, just like with Black Pearl. And I still talk about Black Pearl because that's my baby. They're all our babies, right? When we
Of
write.
Yeah,
course.
this
Of course.
true.
Right, so we never forget about them, but no, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. My press release just came out yesterday, so I'm excited to see what that will do. So yeah, it's just a wonderful time, and I just feel so blessed to be in this spot because we all don't get this opportunity to be able to have the backing of a publisher or to be able to even get the pages on get the words on the book, on the pages, and then
Right.
get the book out there. So I'm just grateful. And, it was interesting when I was writing this book, I was a little nervous, because it's a little different than Black Pearl. And when I was dreaming, it was so crazy. I went to sleep and my African American history teacher from high school came into my dreams and he just popped out of nowhere. His name was Mr.
Wow.
Lott. And he said, how you doing? I was like, oh, Miss Lott, I'm working on this book. This is me in a dream. I'm working on this book and I'm trying to, he was one of my favorite teachers, by the way, just to let you know, and African American history teacher too. And so he taught us about this time period specifically too. So anyway, I was like, Mr. Lott, I'm writing this book and I'm nervous. And then he was like, girl, just write the damn book. And so I woke up and I was like, oh my God, like it sounds just like him. And anyway, I had shared that with his, because I hadn't talked to his daughter in years, and I had shared it with, well, I hadn't even shared it with the daughter yet, but she sent me a text that next morning out of the blue because she had saw me on the website. And I said, girl, I got to tell you, so I just dreamt about your daddy. I didn't want you to think it was crazy. So I had told her what it was, and we were both just like so emotional. It was so crazy. But that's why I feel like, this launch is super important to me, because I feel like, my grandparents, they definitely helped inspire me. Mr. Lott came to me in my dreams and told me to write the damn book. And so I just feel like, it's something special in my bones about this body of work. So I'm really happy to be able to share it with the world.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll tell you, and I've talked to a lot of people who have written historical fiction, and then when they get into that space, they don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you?
Well, you know what? To be honest, yes and no. Because this character actually is part of a compilation that's way bigger. So I
Okay.
started writing this book that took place over a span of time period, actually over 100 years. And I fell in love with this character. So I pulled her out and she became her own novel. But I'm working on something that's a little bit bigger, and I'm playing with all the different eras through American history. And
Mm-hmm.
so that even takes us into the present tense. So, just stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm cooking, I'm cooking, I'm cooking. But yeah, I love this space. But primarily I love writing about flawed characters in
Yes.
different time periods, whether it's the past or in the present, because like I said, Black Pearl, it took place in the 90s, and that's my favorite era. Look, that's my favorite era because that's what, I grew up. And so I just love it all. I think that's, to answer your question. I truly love it all. I found my place and my space as far as being a writer, and I'm just enjoying the ride.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Well,
And
there's a online group that reads, and I'm going to refer you to her or her to you, whichever.
Okay.
I'm going to tell her about you, and then she can
Okay.
reach out but they focus on historical fiction
Mm-hmm.
books about Black women, written by
Mm.
Black women.
Ooh.
And your
Hey.
book qualifies for that. I didn't realize that it was set in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to reach out to her, and her name
Yes.
is Tammy. So if when she reaches out to you, which I think she will, because that's a very specific genre, and it has to be a Black woman author. It's a very narrow, and I think they pick a roster for the year. So I think they
Mm.
picked the roster for this year,
Okay.
but for next year, she said this was a challenge because finding that specific
Mm.
genre, historical fiction about a Black woman, written by a Black woman,
Mm.
there's not a ton of those released every year.
Right. Right.
So I am going to let her know about you. I love
Yes.
connecting people together. That's one of my favorite things.
Yes. Thank you,
Putting
Gwen.
people
I love
together,
that. Thank you.
making it work.
And I'm here to, talk. And, I just gave you a little glimpse of my story, but I, of course, have so much to share. So, um, I would love to be able to speak with her, or, whatever. So that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, how much input did you have about the cover of the book?
Oh, yes. So, of course, I work with Entice,
mm-hmm.
and I had a vision, and so she understands. And she's amazing. Period.
Mhm.
She's a great person.
It
I
is.
mean, just
It's very
just amazing.
easy to get along with.
Oh my God, I just
And not
love her to
everybody is
pieces.
easy to get along with, but in time,
Right,
it's easy. She's very easygoing,
right,
but very, very business like. I mean, she's on it. When I email her, I don't care what time. If it's before 1 a.m.,
right.
I get a response back that
Same here.
right away.
Absolutely.
Because
And
I'm up late
so,
doing stuff, and I know that she's probably up. When I do it, some people I schedule it for the next morning,
mhm.
but with her, I go ahead and send it because I know
Burn the midnight oil. Burn that midnight oil. Absolutely.
Right, right.
Yes. So it was super easy. We worked really well together. So she understood what I was going, and then I understood, and we were talking back and forth, and we came with something, working with an artist that was very beautiful and captured the time period, and also I feel captured the actual main character, the essence of her. And so, because she looked like she don't play, and that's how I wanted, but she's beautiful at the same time. And, you can see the backdrop of the city and all of that. So you get a little bit of all that in the cover. So it was definitely it's all just, like I said, it's just a beautiful experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Awesome. Well,
man,
I'm
it's still
happy for you.
me too. It's great.
Yeah, I'm proud of you because this is a huge undertaking. To do historical fiction is a huge undertaking in and of itself.
It
But for
is.
you to have respected the time period, respected the history, while still presenting a great story with a very strong female character, that takes a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, did your grandparents get a chance to read the book while you were writing it? Have they read it since it came out?
No, they have passed on. So I just,
Oh, okay. I didn't
yeah.
realize that. Okay.
Yeah, so I just use some of the things from my past and the love that I have in my heart for both of them, because, like I told you, they raised me
Mm.
since I was from birth. So my
Oh,
grandmother, actually am named after her because her name is Tarris.
Oh,
So,
nice.
okay.
yes,
Wow.
they watching me from heaven, honey. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Cheering
Well,
me on.
that's great. Now,
that's
when you
sweet.
did your research, what kind of
Mm-hmm.
things did you do to research the time period?
Mm-hmm. I went to the library, honey. I went old school. I looked at
Okay.
pictures so I can kind of get a feel for the attire that they wore. Again, I looked up some of the language. I watched rewatched some of the movies just to make sure, because
Mm.
and I mean not movies of recent, but I mean the movies from that time period. I think Stormy Weather is 1930s, if I'm not mistaken. I had my
It is.
kids watching them too, which was, and my husband. We were all watching some of these old movies, which was cool, because that gives you a glimpse into what was going on at the time. You can see, again, the clothing was really important because she was
Right.
an aspiring fashion designer. And so clothes and fashion was really important to her. And the music, listening to some of the music just to put me in a time period, listening to Duke Ellington, something
Yeah,
about
the big
that.
fans. Hmm.
Yeah, just listening to the jazz helped pull something out of me. So when I
And
wrote
that's
about,
true.
hmm,
No, I was just saying that's true. When you listen to
right,
it, you get a better appreciation for the time period. If you really even listen to the words, the words were totally different from what you're hearing now.
right. And then when I was
A
listening
lot
to,
different.
I listened to, and I watched Cotton Club, because you can catch some like uh, videos, like old film. It's hard to find, but you can see some performances. And so I want to, look at that so I can get a feel, because I wrote about them going to Harlem. They went to Paris. I read poetry just to kind of get a feel, so I really want to immerse myself into the time period so that I can be true to the time period and respect it, as you said. And then the characters, I want you to really feel, I want the characters to feel real. and
Right.
um and now it's some grit, and it has a lot of edge, so you still get that urban vibe, which I love too. So I didn't fall off from there either. But the beautiful part of the history, this was post or actually during the Great Depression, and so I wanted to capture some of that. So that, and a lot of the poetry from that time period, you were able to feel some of the pain and some of the things that was going on. So I did all of that. I mean, to actually pull this whole entire novel together.
Nice. So
Hmm.
where can we find the book, ma'am?
Okay. I You can get the book anywhere books are sold. You can go to Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble. Try your local bookstores. Okay. Um, you can Audible, audiobooks, Apple, everywhere or anywhere you buy books. I think I mentioned Barnes and Noble .com. You can get you can try the website blackodyssey.net and just put in the search engine Empress Creed by Tarris Marie, and all the different places where you can buy it, it'll pop up for you.
And are you coming to the National Black Book Festival again?
I will be there this year.
Yay.
It's always a pleasure.
You
Always
gonna
a
wear those
pleasure.
cool little jeans you wore the last time? Because those things
Hey, that was so fun. Yes. And you know what? And I'm in Houston, so you know, I love going. So it's always a beautiful time, and you know, to be able to network and just get out there. So I will be there this year. I'll see you ladies.
All right, I'll be looking for you.
All right.
I was
Amen.
going to ask you about your audiobook.
Okay.
So it is on Audible, so it's
It
the
is.
audiobook version. Is there any music on the audiobook? Like
There's no music, but the narrators do a great job in taking you into the time period. So I think it's Corey Allen and Jasmine Walker, if I'm not mistaken, are their names. But yes, it is available. So you get the male and both the female, because I write from both perspectives. Well, it's a female a protagonist, but you know what I mean. There's a male love interest because it's a little bit of romance, honey. I give you a love story in there. You know, I cannot write a book without talking about love. So you got that in there. But yes, it is definitely available on audio as well.
Wonderful.
Okay. Well,
Well,
Tarris,
I'll be looking forward to audio because I'm an audiobook girly.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why I asked Rhonda, because I know that you listen to the books. I read books. I don't listen to books, but maybe one day I'll find a way to do it. I just tried it once and fell asleep.
She's not gonna do it, Terrence. Don't even
I
listen to her
did.
because
I tried it once.
I have taught her how to listen to audiobook. She thinks she gotta
Yes.
sit down quiet like this and listen to the book.
Yeah,
Right.
I did. I tried it and I fell asleep. And then I tried it again. Like I said, well, maybe I was just sleepy that particular time. And then I tried it again and I fell asleep again.
See,
So
she's not doing it right.
but
Are you doing
it
on your
wasn't,
Kindle? Do you watch it?
no,
Do you
I
read
was
on your Kindle?
listening. No, I actually am. I
You're a
stopped
page
doing
turner.
Kindle. I did the Kindle for 2 or 3 years. I'm back
Okay.
to books.
You like to turn the pages, huh?
I like to hold a book.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I
Look.
like to be able to promote it on the show. I feel like if I buy the book, that it's better
Absolutely.
for the author. So that's
Absolutely.
how I feel about it, the whole process.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, look, Empress Creed is available, honey, on paperback if you would like to turn the pages,
Okay.
as well as on audio for you, Rhonda. So
And Kindle. It's on all three platforms.
it is. It
formats,
is.
so.
Again, I feel so blessed and fortunate to be able to, you know, have my work shown and to have someone else's interpretation through the audio, because that's what it is. They're actors acting out, and it's their interpretation of the book through their voices. So it's a beautiful experience, and you know, I just feel very fortunate.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Tarris, and we'll see you in October.
Sounds good. See you in October.
All
Take
right.
care, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You know, I keep saying that the audiobook thing didn't work for me, but you know what? Even reading the book that I tried, the reason I did audio, the book was kind of boring, and I couldn't.
So the audiobook was probably boring too.
Yeah, it was. And then when I went back to reading it, it was just like the book wasn't that good. So the whole thing, I need to do it with a different book. I'm gonna try it again. Don't write me off. I'm not opposed to it. It has to be the right setting.
So are we giving away this book, Wynn?
We are right now. So I showed the book last week. It's Lenny Gray by Earl Sewell. The book looks thick, but it really isn't, because if you look inside, it's big margins and a lot of space between the lines. So the trivia question for this book is, and I wasn't ready with my screen. What is the father's name of Lenny Gray's unborn child? So it's in the synopsis. This book called Lenny Gray. What is the father's name of Lenny's unborn child? And if you answer correctly, you get the book. So we're ready for our final guest. And before we bring the final guest on, well, no, let me do that at the end if I remember. So anyway, he has been on the show before, and he's back. It's been about maybe a year ago, and it's Dr. George Walters-Sleyon, and he has a new book. So he wanted to come and tell us about his new book. And Dr. George, he delves into the deep matter of a subject. So his books are not like on the surface. He dives deep into the depths of whatever he's researching it, and he brings something out from what he discovers in his research. So Dr. George, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, and Happy New Year. It's still January, so I can still say
Barely.
That's right. I haven't seen you for quite a while.
No, quite a while. So your new book is called The Rush for Black Diamonds.
Yes, it
And do you
is.
have a copy of it handy that you can show us? The cover of, and I the title makes me think it's about the diamond industry. That was my first thought.
But I'm wondering if it's about something a little deeper.
It's about something else.
Yes, it is.
Well, talk to us about it.
So, first of all, thank you for having me on. The Rush for Black Diamonds is it's a book on the transatlantic slave trade and its mutation into chattel slavery, and how the transatlantic slave trade changed into chattel slavery and then subsequently would change into penal slavery and what I call colonial slavery. But the book is also, whilst you have the economic argument for the justification of the transatlantic slave trade, the book delves into exploring the intellectual arguments and those who were the main proponents of justifying the transatlantic slave trade. Those were the philosophers. Because most of the time when we think about the transatlantic slave trade, we first of all think about the profiteers and nations that are called the superpowers, which include Britain, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, France, Belgium. These are the superpowers of the slave trade. We think about them immediately, but we often do not think about the philosophers that provided the intellectual justification that translated into the emergence of laws, policies, economic theories, political theories to justify the slave trade. And so, volume one looks at two immediate individuals, John Locke and Thomas Jefferson. And Black diamonds is a metaphor for Black people, Africans, Black Africans specifically, because it is important to establish the fact that those who were enslaved were not light-skinned Africans. They were black-skinned Africans, particularly from West Africa, from parts of East Africa, okay, and South Africa, but black people, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, there weren't really. Well, I don't know. I'm not. Is the anthropologist who studies the history of peoples? But during that time, well, that part of Africa, everybody's dark, pretty much, I think. But I'm not a historian or anthropologist like that. But that's a very good distinction. A lot of people. I know I had one. Um, it was like a online conversation, but with a Caucasian person that didn't understand why Black people in America are different shades. They completely, now I don't know if it's willful blindness or they just never thought about it.
Probably never thought about it.
Probably.
I don't think people think about the
How
dynamic
we got here.
of,
Like we
right. They
didn't
don't think
hatch.
about they don't think about that. That's not something that's on their mind every day. So that's why I think that some non-Black people think we talk about it too much because this is a part of our existence. We think about this every day. We don't have the luxury to just la 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 through life and not think about why we got here or how we got here.
Yeah. So the different shades. Now, a lot of Enlightenment philosophers, prominent among them is the German philosopher George Hegel, actually divided Africa into three parts. North Africa, he refers to as Europe, part of Europe, okay? And then East Africa, he compares to Asia. And then he refers to West Africa and Black Africa as proper Africa. You see, proper Africa.
Okay.
So it's important to note that and Europeans, when they went to Africa and with the emergence of the transatlantic slave trade, they went particularly for Black Africans. You see, of course, there were North Africans, light-skinned Africans that they felt were part of Europe. And this would go back to part of the Rwanda Tutsi Hutus problem, where the Belgians got involved, you know, and multiplied and did a lot of stuff in Congo in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But the book itself talks about different aspects of it. So yeah.
Now, what made you go on this path? What made you decide? Because I know as a nonfiction writer myself, I'll observe some things and then I'll say, you know what, that would be a good subject for a book, but I may not have everything I need right now. But then the more I see and hear, then I keep taking notes and then I say, okay, it's time to write the book. So what made you like dive into that particular strain of information? What made you do the philosophers as opposed, because I know you isn't theology part of your training, your academic training?
Yes. So I have my background is very interdisciplinary.
Okay.
My first and second masters from Boston University. I did philosophy, theology, religion, and social ethics. For my PhD work, I did criminology, criminal justice, ethics, philosophy, as well, and
Okay.
social theory,
Okay.
which I presently teach. But my immediate interest in this area came out of researching for doing my research, my PhD research, and I began to explore different areas with respect to philosophy and its influence on Western consciousness, especially uh, individuals that are called the intellectual godfathers of the West. and the extent to which these intellectual forefathers of the West are still being read. And some of the things that they've written, particularly about Black people, delving into them, you begin to explore those things becoming very fundamental to the emergence of what is now called white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Because fundamental or associated with the argument about race and the justification of the transatlantic slave trade, you will have vis-a-vis the emergence of white supremacy as fundamental or central to that distinction between Black and white. So I wanted to explore that and also to highlight the need for more understanding into the various strands of the transatlantic slave trade. Because most of the time when we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we often don't look at chattel slavery. You see, chattel slavery become accidental. But it's important to note that the transatlantic slave trade gave birth also, whether concurrently, to chattel slavery. And chattel slavery continued well into the 20th century.
Okay. So how are you defining chattel slavery for the audience?
Yeah, and
well, chattel slavery.
and while you're talking about that, I want hopefully you can expand on how people see it as accidental.
Well, chattel slavery, again, one, I want to be very clear. Chattel slavery to some extent is mutually inclusive and exclusive to the transatlantic slave trade. Chattel slavery became an institution of its own after the end of the transatlantic slave trade. But it came out of the transatlantic slave trade. It was the notion in which Black people were considered mere property and cattle, okay, to be used as economic units. Okay, not only economic units, but subhumans.
Right.
Okay, subhumans and inferior to white folks. And to let you know, the first place, and I talk about it in the book, the first place where Black people were considered slaves and chattel property was in the British colony of Virginia.
Okay.
It was established in the Virginia law that Black people were subhumans, were cattle.
Yeah.
Okay, really established in the Virginia law.
Yeah, from a philosophical standpoint, a person would have to create a rationale for treating Black people different from everyone else.
Well, of course. And so that's why you see in the book, I begin with John Locke. So John Locke is considered this a father of Western liberalism because of his emphasis on individual rights and individualism and individual property and private property and separation between church and state. But what a lot of people don't know is that John Locke's argument about private property was mainly about owning, first of all, owning Black people as property. Because John Locke himself was a slave master and a slave trader. John Locke worked with the British government and was a colonial officer in the Carolinas. You see, he was part of a group called Lord Proprietors and was a secretary for trade, the British colonial trade of the British Parliament. And he was paid, see. And so John Locke, in fact, would be the person to write the first constitution of the Carolina called the Fundamental Constitution of the Carolina. That constitution provides the foundation for the present Constitution of the Carolina and also influenced the American Constitution, because John Locke then, his work would be appropriated by Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
So
Now, what year was and I'm thinking that you would know off the top of your head. What year what year did slavery end in England? I know it was
18
before it ended here.
in England, where in the British colony or the British Parliament ended slavery formally in 1833, 1834.
Okay. So it's
Okay.
almost 30 years roughly.
Yeah.
Four.
However, though it was on the books that slavery ended in 1833, 1834, the British government informally tolerated the slave trade.
Okay.
So it continued well into the 1870s.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so the ending of the slave trade by the British government in 1833 was basically, to a large extent, stopping slaves from coming into Britain, coming into Liverpool, Glasgow, Bristol, those places. But slave trade continued in the British colonies, in the Caribbean,
Okay. And
and in
also they
Africa
didn't
as
stop
well.
trading with the United States. They didn't
No,
because of slavery. It didn't stop them from trading with America.
yes.
I
So,
think what's interesting though is that they may have traded, but they wanted to participate in the slave trade passively instead of aggressively, so that way they can say that they weren't really a part of it.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
what
easy to
that's
say
yeah,
that they weren't trading slaves, but if
right,
they're participating passively, so they're still benefiting from it.
right. It's really like
yes,
you really are de facto supporting it. You're not participating directly. It's indirect participation is what it was.
yeah.
So they
And
could
that
feel
was the
better.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the problem with the American government. After the British ended the slave trade, quote unquote, 1833, the American government or the Americans were still involved in the slave trade. Okay, formally and informally, you had the domestic slave trade, and then you had possibly the international slave trade still going on. The American flag became very important to protect American slave traders. You see, and so the British were saying to the Americans that your flag is providing a lot of support for the slave traders. So why don't we come to let us have a convention and put an end to this, and then we can control it so that your flag won't be used. And the American government and the president said no, because they knew that if the British controlled the end of the slave trade, they would get all the profit. You see, so indirectly, the British were saying, we will control it and get all the economic benefits. And so the American government said, no, we want to continue to control it. And eventually, you had the Civil War.
Okay. Now you go way back and you do a lot of research in terms of digging into details.
Mm-hmm.
What do you use for your sources? Do you use I mean, are there a lot of books written on that period, or are you the book writer on the period?
Well,
Or
there
a
are lots of,
combination of both, since you're a doctor?
oh yes, there are lots of materials to access. And in fact, in the book, if you look at it, I have a very exhaustive bibliography at the back
Okay.
of the book. So
Okay.
part of my goal was to for people to have this book here and do their own extra reading or extra research,
Okay.
you see. So the book becomes a resource material that gives you a lot of extra materials for you to explore, you see. Now, I would like to also highlight, if you look, I have Du Bois and Douglas. So whilst on the one hand you have Thomas Jefferson, you have John Locke, and Thomas Jefferson, I call him the Lockean a disciple in the White House, because Thomas Jefferson will adopt, a lot of the claims of the theories of John Locke, especially with respect to the separation of church and state. It was John Locke's argument, you see. And then Thomas Jefferson also was a slave trader from the House of Burgess and was involved in a lot of slaves, Monticello, prominent among them is Sally Hemings.
Yes.
And in the book, I explore his relationship with Sally Hemings. And it's important to note for people to know that Sally Hemings was, in actual fact, Thomas Jefferson's sister-in-law. Okay, Sally Hemings was Thomas Jefferson's wife's half sister.
Yeah.
You see, Sally Hemings was owned. Sally Hemings' mother was owned by Martha Wiley's, that's Jefferson's wife's father.
Okay, but
so eventually
he didn't really did he recognize her as that? Probably not. Huh?
Or he knew.
But I mean, did he recognize her publicly? Is that like, was it she wasn't, like the fathers, the slave masters didn't recognize their own children as their children. In most cases.
Yeah, that was part of the Virginian law. She was simply a slave. But in actual fact, his wife knew that she was the daughter of her father.
Okay. Yeah.
You see, and Thomas Jefferson knew as well. But because you see, there was a Virginia law that said the white man could have affairs with his slave, and the child becomes not an emotional attachment, but simply a slave.
Right.
And so you had a lot of white, yes, a lot of white men doing it to increase the slave plantation. So in the book, I raised the argument of slave breeding. Because Thomas Jefferson would go on to have 6 to 7 children by Sally Hemings.
Right.
But the only person that he really freed was one of the child, a daughter, that fled. Because Thomas Jefferson was selling all of his children, they were slaves, in spite of the fact that they were his children. But that's the thing about it.
Yeah, it's really a bizarre type of, it's almost unbelievable.
There was a similar law. There's a similar law in Louisiana. It's called Le Code Noir, the Black Code, where affluent white men were allowed, basically. It was well known that they had their white wife, but and this wasn't to fund slavery, though. They were allowed to have a black concubine. And it was well known that they had this black concubine. She wasn't allowed to, she had certain powers. She wasn't allowed to be with anybody else. He was hers. So in a way, she was still a slave to this man, even though she was considered free.
But Sally Hemings wasn't free. As a matter of fact, when Thomas Jefferson died, he left Sally Hemings a slave. And it's believed that she was auctioned off after she had 6 children by him.
That's very sad.
Yeah. I did some history for my first book that I wrote on group economics. And I mentioned in there that the first deadbeat dads were the slave owners because they had children that they didn't take care of. We talk about it in the modern times now with men who have children they don't take care of. But that's what was done 200 years ago, or maybe not 200, but you know what I'm saying. They really would have offspring that they refused to be financially responsible for, except for as slaves, which was, really a minimum existence.
Well, Dr. George, I have to share this comment in the chat right now from the Social Book Club. I wish he was my teacher. He makes you think and want to know more about our own history. So you are reaching a lot of people with this conversation tonight.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I said earlier, I want to talk a bit about W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
Now, first of all, I use the both of them to deconstruct the claims of uh, John Locke and Thomas Jefferson. In the book, particularly also, John Locke would view Black people as subhumans. He makes a philosophical argument. Okay. And so in the book, at the last chapter is, do you believe was Locke a racist? Is Locke a racist? But then I bring in all the claims that Locke provides for to establish or to argue for the inferiority of Black people as subhumans. Thomas Jefferson also in his most prominent book, The Notes, will talk about the intellectual inferiority of Black people. And just to let you know, Thomas Jefferson makes the argument that even if Black people are freed in the United States, they should be sent back to Africa. So this whole thing about back to Africa came from Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson hated any notion of interracial marriage, but yet and still he was having children by Sally Hemings. The inconsistency, contradiction is absolutely obvious. So in that, I use Douglas and W.E.B. Du Bois to deconstruct some of those claims. So first of all, for Du Bois, if you read the book, the first chapter, access and reference Du Bois' PhD dissertation from Harvard, in which he talks about the suppression of the transatlantic slave trade. You see, so I provide a summary of it in relation to other materials as well. And then coming up in book 2, I talk about Du Bois' epistemology, the extent to which, in fact, the phrase Black diamonds comes from W.E.B. Du Bois. You see, so whilst on the one hand you have John Locke and Thomas Jefferson saying that Black people were inferior, you have Du Bois saying Black people are Black diamonds. You see, not only economically, but not only economically, but also to establish the self-esteem of Black people.
Okay.
You see, so Du Bois would make that argument. Furthermore, I use Douglas. Douglas, if you read his works and you read particularly the 4th of July speech, he is very, very he's very particular about establishing his annoyance with white folks in the United States on slave breeding. He said that's the most inhumane thing, that white folks would breed Black people to sell them. And he talks about how the slave markets would pass by his house in Baltimore, and he will hear the wailing of these Black people that were on these chains carried from one place to be sold. You see, and Black babies to be sold. And so in the book, if I may,
well, hold it up
volume
one more
1,
time, because we are at the end of the show. So if you can hold the book up one more time so people can see the cover and they can know where they can purchase the book, which is available. Where is the book available, Dr. George?
So the book is The Rush for Black Diamonds, Volume 1. It's on Amazon. Okay, it's on Amazon. And you can also visit my website, which is GeorgeWalters-Sleyon.com, www.georgewaltersleyon.com.
And I did put your link in the chat.
Thank you. And you will find my other books there too. Prison Chaplains on the Beat, Locked Up and Locked Down about mass incarceration. Okay. And a book on poetry, Nuggets from the Night. Okay.
Okay.
And this one, my other book, God in the Name of Jesus Christ.
And that was the book that you talked about the last time you were on the show. But we're at the very end. We're at the 9 o'clock hour, so we need to close our show out. We appreciate you have really schooled us and given us an education on what's in your books about the transatlantic slave trade, and we really appreciate you. And continued success with all of your work.
Yeah, thank you. And as we enter into Black History Month, I just want to say to everyone listening, purchase a copy of this book. Knowledge is power. We are on the verge of a lot of things, and anti-Black intellectual capacity has increased and is increasing. Please get resources this Black History Month. Purchase a copy of this book and other books on these issues and teach your people. If you're a pastor, a religious person, use these books to teach your people on Sunday morning. Education is power.
Okay, well, on that note, we're out of time. And good night, Dr. George.
Thank you so,
Thank you very much.
so much,
I
Dr.
really
George.
appreciate it.
You got some sales tonight.
Yeah. So this is our last show for the month. Next week, we'll be celebrating our 200th show, and we'll see you next Tuesday on the next episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Wynn Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.